The 1st of May 1994 marks a pivotal moment. Ayrton Senna has sadly passed away. The Formula 1 community is in shock. Brazil mourns, and the Williams team is devastated. With their superstar driver gone, Damon Hill stands as their sole representative. But does he have what it takes? Struggling under his newfound pressure, a chance encounter at Senna's funeral helps Hill find the focus he needs. Damon Hill stands in front of the press, and like every other Formula 1 driver's dream, he dreams of being a world champion, being the lead driver of a team, winning races and championships. And that's no different for Hill, even when your new teammate for the upcoming season is no other than the great Ayrton Senna, a 3-time world champion. Hill's realistic though. Even though he's only 6 months younger than Senna, they've both had different journeys to this stage of their careers. This is Hill's second full season in Formula 1. Hill's the son of the double world champion Graham Hill, who won the title in 1962 and 68. He was known as Mr. Monaco after winning the race 5 times there. It's safe to say that Hill grew up within the world of motorsport, attending races with his father, rubbing shoulders with his father's teammates, but surprisingly, Hill had no interest in racing himself. It wasn't until later on that he caught the bug, but not on 4 wheels, preferring to go bike racing instead. He didn't race his first car race until the age of 25. In comparison, Senna was already in Formula 1 at this stage and had 2 wins to his name. With the lack of karting and late start, Hill would be playing catch up with the majority of his career. Even with his lack of experience, Hill would still be listed with a chance of winning the 94 title. He's driving for Williams after all, a team that destroyed the field the previous 2 seasons with title winning cars designed by the highly regarded Adrian Newey. On top of this, these cars had advanced electronic aids that their competitors just couldn't match. The cars were so good it persuaded Senna to take a pay cut to join the team. But for the 94 season, these electronic aids will be banned and refueling would make a return for the first time in 10 years. Both changes were made to make the races more interesting, with refueling adding a new tactical element to the races. With Williams struggling from time to time to have a quick pit stop, it will be interesting to see how they dealt with this addition of refueling. But even with these changes, Williams was still hot favourite to win the title. With a brand new sponsorship deal with Rothmans, Senna joining the team, Adrian Newey, Patrick Head and obviously Alan Prost retiring, surely it'd just be a season of wins for Senna and Hill. Well, that thought lasted until pre-season testing came along. It wasn't until the 24th of February that the new Williams was ready, much later than the other teams, notably the Benetton Ford, that a young Michael Schumacher would be driving in. As soon as the Williams hit the track, Hill knew there was a problem, a major problem. First of all, the car felt unfamiliar to him. Hill's career up to this point had been with driver aids. This was the first time without them, but the new car was porpoising a lot. It was also sensitive and twitchy with a small operating window. Hill explaining, "You don't have to be very far out with the settings and suddenly the car's not competitive." The car felt even more unfamiliar to Senna. Coming from McLaren, this was his first experience of one of Adrian Newey's design traits, a cramped cockpit. Senna also didn't like the position of the steering wheel. After the pre-season tests, Senna asked for more room in the cockpit and asked for the steering wheel to be raised. To the press, Senna was positive, but in private, he wasn't. He told his girlfriend at the time, "I feel I have arrived here 2 years too late. The car drives funny." Going into the first race of the season, the Brazilian Grand Prix, it seemed that Williams had a rival after all, Michael Schumacher's Benetton. Senna being Senna though, he got pole. He was in front of his home crowd, he planned nothing else. Schumacher was second. Hill, who had been suffering with a chest infection and missed one of the 3 practice sessions, qualified 4th, 1.5 seconds slower than Senna. In the race, Senna and Schumacher shot off. No one could match their pace. Hill, remembering the DNF he had at the start of last year's campaign, went into conservative mode with the aim of coming away with some points. On top of that, Hill found the car undrivable in the slow corners, whilst in the quick ones, the car felt like it would go off at any moment. He found the car very unpredictable. With these difficulties, it was amazing that Senna was keeping the pace up with Schumacher, driving 100% all the time, even with a twitchy car. Senna led up into lap 21 while both Senna and Schumacher pitted at the same time. The Benetton pit crew turning the car around quicker than the Williams. Williams' pit stop handicap seems to have followed them into this refueling era. Senna was still giving it his best until 5 laps until the end when his car finally got the better of him. He spun and was out of the race there and then. Schumacher went on to win, with Hill claiming second place a lap down, but getting his campaign off to a better start than last year. The Pacific Grand Prix would hold the second race of the season, and again Senna managed to get pole in front of Schumacher. Hill was third this time, only half a second off. Both Senna and Hill had spins in qualifying though, leading Senna to say, "I really don't know what happened, it's odd that it happened the same for both of us. It was disappointing and frustrating because it looked silly and stupid. I feel very unhappy about it, but it's better that it happened today and not tomorrow." Unfortunately, tomorrow got worse. Senna was out at the first corner and Hill a retirement, Schumacher winning the race once again, already having a substantial margin in the championship table. After 2 races and Williams were already on the ropes, but nothing could prepare them for what was about to come. 2:17 PM, the 1st of May 1994. We don't know it yet, but the world has just changed. One of the darkest weekends in Formula 1 history has just gotten so much darker. 24 hours after the death of Roland Ratzenberger, Ayrton Senna was leading the San Marino Grand Prix. He had qualified on pole, Schumacher was second, and with the Austrian flag in his car that Senna wanted to raise after the race to honour Ratzenberger, Senna was driving at his best. Everyone thought Schumacher's car was heavier than Senna's, but in fact, he was lighter. On lap 7, Senna left the track hitting the concrete wall at 130 miles per hour. Senna's front wheel coming down in front of Hill. As Hill drove past, he thought, "Oh fucking hell, not again." That's 3 retirements in 3 races. But then the red flags came out. Red flags only come out for something serious. There's confusion on the grid. Everyone's unsure of Senna's condition. They know it's serious, but how serious? There's also confusion for the cause of the accident. Was it driver error or did a component fail? As Senna's loaded into the helicopter at 12:35 PM, the teams focus on the restart. Hill's been told that they're turning off his power steering as a precaution, resigning Hill to a difficult afternoon behind the wheel. Contact on the first lap didn't help things. The race was won by Michael Schumacher, his 3rd in a row. Hill finishes a respectable 6th, but the race doesn't matter right now. By now everyone knows that it's very serious for Senna. Journalists have already started writing their obituary in preparation for tomorrow's papers. At 6:40 PM, a doctor announces that Ayrton Senna has died, the greatest driver of his generation. The world's in shock. Damon Hill's advised that the best thing for him to do is get away from Imola. There's a section at the airport cordoned off for the Williams team. The section's in silence. Everyone's distraught and numb as they come to terms with the day's events. It's hit them hard. Hill steps up and breaks the silence and says, "I just want you all to know that I will always trust your cars." Hill, pushing down his own feelings, started to feel that he had the responsibility to stand up and say that. Back home with his family, Hill wanted to grieve in private and reflect in peace and quiet. He wasn't sure if he was going to fly out to Brazil for Senna's funeral, but a phone conversation with Jackie Stewart gave him the answer that he was searching for. Stewart raced in the same era as Hill's father, Graham, an era when far too many drivers passed away. Stewart persuaded Hill to go, explaining that if he didn't go, he'd always regret it. Going to Senna's funeral would turn out to be one of the best decisions he made that week. Senna was granted a full state funeral and 3 days of mourning. If you didn't know how much Senna was loved in his home country, you would do now. Brazilians were hit the hardest with Senna's death. It just didn't feel real. How could the greatest of all time go like this? Senna was invincible, so we all thought. Back at the hotel, Hill's approached by 2 fans for his autograph. As Hill signs his name, they say to him, Brazil will be watching you now." Hill choked with emotion. He realised that because Senna raced for Williams, Williams had become part of their life, and by association, Hill was part of it too. Hill didn't have to wait long to pay them back. Up next was the Monaco Grand Prix, a race Hill's father, Graham, won 5 times. In an eerie coincidence, Graham Hill had a similar experience to Damon back in 1968. Back then, Graham had a star driver teammate by the name of Jim Clark, a 2-time world champion and a driver regarded as the greatest of his generation. Sadly, Clark lost his life early on in the season. It left the Lotus team in despair, and with their team principal Colin Chapman seriously considering giving up his racing. This made Graham determined to win the next race, the Spanish Grand Prix, which he went out and did. Chapman, making a U-turn, decided he would see out the rest of the season to see how he felt, and he continued racing. Could Damon repeat what his father achieved? That morale-boosting win, especially with the race being at Monaco. It couldn't all be a coincidence, right? Williams confirming that no replacement would be sought for this race. Hill would be the sole representative. For the first time in his career, he'd be the lead driver of a top Formula 1 team, their main focus. Everything would be on his shoulders now. No star teammate to absorb all the attention from within and out. Williams are in need of a morale boosting result. It's been an emotional couple of weeks, and to top it off, there's been allegations in the press about the steering column causing Senna's crash, with potential criminal charges to follow. It's hit Adrian Newey hard. A driver's just died in one of his cars, unsure whether he wants to continue with the sport. A good result in Monaco will go a long way in helping everyone in the team. With qualifying done, Schumacher qualified on pole. Hill was 4th, 2nd was Hakkinen, and Berger 3rd. Patrick Head, the co-founder of Williams, making it clear that he wasn't terribly impressed with Hill's driving. A podium would be a respectable finish from 4th. Hill made a good start. Hakkinen moved to the right to block Berger, so Hill moved to the left of the two. But Hakkinen comes back to the left. Contact! Hill's out at the first corner. A race that Williams desperately needed to get a good result from, with Hill the sole representative, and is out. It's another blow to the Williams team, and another blow to Hill's attempt to be the team leader of the team, especially with Patrick Head showing a lack of confidence in him. And on top of that, there's rumours in the press that Rothmans are after a star driver replacement for Senna. Prost has turned down coming out of retirement, stating that, out of respect to Senna, I would never take the seat in his car. Nigel Mansell, the 1992 world champion, is another star name floating around. But for now, Williams' test driver and rookie will get the seat for the next race, the Spanish Grand Prix. With David Coulthard getting his debut in the team, Hill really needs a good showing, to prove he can be a team leader and again to boost morale of the team, just like his father did 26 years ago at the 1968 Spanish Grand Prix. With qualifying done, Schumacher qualifies first and Hill comes in a much improved 2nd place. It's game on. On a sunny race day, everyone takes the cars out for a morning warm-up session, basically a pre-race practice session. Everything's going well until Hill loses it and spins. The Williams pit wall not looking impressed once again. With so much at stake, Hill can't risk another poor race. So as the lineup on the grid, anything other than a good result is needed by Hill. Another spin, contact or DNF would shatter any confidence the team has in him. Starting from 2nd, it's important Hill maintains his position off the start. As the lights go green, Schumacher makes a good start. Hill, not so good. But the main thing is that he doesn't lose any positions. Mission accomplished as they reach the first corner. It's Schumacher, Hill and then Mika Hakkinen in his McLaren. As the first stint goes along, Schumacher's pulling away from Hill, but it looks like Hakkinen is quicker than the Williams driver. Hill's hoping the McLaren has less fuel than him because he'll be screwed if it doesn't. It looks easy for Hill to keep the car behind, so it may come down to the pit crew, but that's another worry. We all know how slow the Williams pit crew can be at times. Hakkinen pits, pretty much confirming he's lighter than Hill. Wow, A 7.4 second stop, that's the fastest of the day so far. As Hakkinen rejoins the track, McLaren team is surely feeling confident they've taken the position. Hill pits a few laps later. The Williams team have 7.4 seconds as their target. Let's see what they can do. A 9-second stop. Yet another slow pit stop for Williams. Or is it? Have Williams put more fuel in their car? Williams are going for a 2-stop strategy. Hakkinen may be going for 3 stops. Schumacher pits from the lead. It looks like he's got the race in the bag. With no pressure, the pit crew still pull out a 7.6 second stop. Schumacher holding the lead as he comes out the pits. It's now Schumacher from Hakkinen and then Hill. Hang on, is Schumacher about to be unlapped? He's slowing. It looks like he's got a problem. Not sure what the issue is, but Hakkinen's closing and about to take the lead. It looks like Schumacher's stuck in 5th gear. Yes, look, he's not changing gear. Hill now takes 2nd place from the injured Schumacher. It's now down to strategy. If Hakkinen's on a 3-stop, it's Hill's race. But whatever happens, Schumacher's having an amazing race right now. Hakkinen pits, confirming his 3-stopping. It's now Hill's race to lose. The order's now Hill, Schumacher and then Hakkinen, with all 3 of them having one more pit stop to go. Hill now pits for his 2nd and final pit stop. There's no pressure on the pit crew. All they have to do is have a clean pit stop and bring the race home. A 5.8 second stop, 4 seconds faster than the previous. Williams have finally pulled out a fast pit stop, but was it too fast? Did enough fuel get into the car? Schumacher and Hakkinen have completed the last stops. Hill keeps the lead, but will Hill need to stop again? Patrick Head is concerned. He's walked to the pit wall to ask if all the fuel went in. Everyone says yes, but Head replies, it seems a very quick stop. Are you sure? With Schumacher having issues and Hakkinen not having the pace, all Hill has to do is finish the race. But an extra stop now will drop him down to 3rd place. Ian Harrison and John Russell on the pit wall, who are both now nervous, are frantically going through the data to check the figures. The data confirming that everything was in the car. But with so much on the line, Patrick Head wasn't convinced. The Williams team that dominated Formula 1 the previous 2 seasons now haven't won a race in 8 months. The tragedy of Senna's death, the allegations in the press, the pressure mounting. Finally, Ian Harrison says, look Patrick, it's not the bloody rig, it's not on the floor, so it's in the bloody car. And he was right. When Williams needed it the most, to prove that they can still do it, they pulled off a quick pit stop. And with Hakkinen's car now retired, all that's left now is for Hill to bring it home for an emotional victory, just like his father had done in the same race 26 years earlier. Adrian Newey and the Williams pit crew are in tears. They needed this. As Damon Hill sits in front of the press, it's safe in the knowledge that he won the 1994 Spanish Grand Prix for the people of Brazil, for the people in the team, for his father, and most importantly for himself, proving to all that he may not be Senna, but that he is now ready to lead the Williams team.